Hello. I am Lauren and I'm a sound healing doula, and today I want to talk about some inner child thoughts that have come up for me in a number of therapy sessions, a number of shadow work sessions, just throughout my life, or not even really traditional therapy. Like there have been instances where that has happened, but sometimes when I'm just living life and there is a very small fragment of time in my day where I'm not really thinking about anything and my attention turns to my thoughts, sometimes these ones just float up to the surface, and that just means that I'm needing to be aware of what those are. And there are some that are quite common, but I also want to talk about some others as well. And I have been very unsure as to whether I wanted to share this, but I feel like with a lot of the stuff that I'm sharing, if I'm able to help one person, like, I've done my job. So like, the whole reason I want to do this is so that others don't feel alone. And it's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, well, this is something that can be used to help somebody else. So I'm just gonna talk about it. So how these inner child sessions are gonna go are like, I'm gonna say a couple of thoughts that come from the place of the inner child, and then I'm gonna say what adult me or like future version of me would say in response to that. And I feel like that's the best way to sort of like balance it, because since being aware of these thoughts, there has been a bunch of healing that has taken place, and I feel like this is a great way for me to show a teaching moment, or just like a space where I can give advice for anyone, or even myself, advice should it crop up again. And kind of like, I feel like this way it would help to have the thought that is kind of plaguing you at the moment, and then have some type of solution, or like, where next? What do I do? How do I cope with this particular thought so it's not as intense and it's not all consuming? So before we start with this, I do want to talk a little bit about the inner child, for those of you who may not be fully aware of what that is. So in the spiritual space, particularly, the term inner child refers to that version of you that is very small, and kind of from the ages of like 0 to 7, that is usually like where a bunch of memories are created, because at this point you are able to, like, you're expected to look to other people so that you learn about the world, who you are as a person, and how to interact with the world around you. So you're making sense of the world between these ages, and this is where like all of the core memories of how you think about the world stem from. Now, this inner child, this smaller version of you, is the version that, in a lot of cases, for those of you with complex trauma and childhood trauma, like this inner child version of you is the version of you that got you through those experiences to kind of get you up to this point, like where you are today. And in adulthood, the way that we cope with situations often stems from the core belief systems and the way that we decided to form opinions from childhood. So basically, getting into healing and learning where to kind of start with healing, allowing these thoughts to kind of be safe enough to be expressed is where I would personally start, because when you feel safe, like when your body and your mind feel safe, you can get to the point where you are able to be open and honest with yourself. And as a complete word nerd, I value communication, and I understand that lots of people choose to communicate in different ways, and where possible, having accommodations to allow people to be seen, appreciated and heard and loved while feeling safe in the way that they choose to express themselves is just so beautiful. So with the inner child healing, the thoughts that come up, they can sort of produce a physical sensation that is uncomfortable, because what tends to happen, and like what has happened in my situation as well, is that I have built up a bunch of coping mechanisms that have like cushioned that particular thought. And like when the world is quieter, there's not really anything there to cushion anymore, so I have to deal with those thoughts as they come up. And because the body is always keeping a record of what happens, and the body is always remembering what has happened, if you haven't been able to release that or come to terms with it or bring closure, these coping mechanisms can sort of get you in a bit of a cycle. So with the inner child stuff and the thoughts that come up initially, it can be very painful, and you may just feel like you want to run away. And like I have definitely felt like I want to run away from a bunch of thoughts that I've had, and it has had an impact on my self-esteem, and through actually just making my physical surroundings, so like my body and my mind, the things that I can control, when I'm actually able to create safe spaces for me to express myself, this being one of them, like the more empowered I feel as I'm able to heal through certain experiences. So the first one is I'm a failure. Now with this one, I feel like it has been a very common one that keeps on showing up in different scenarios and different new scenarios as well, because this is something to where, like, when I'm doing something new, doing something that I have always thought about, and then I've taken the jump and then it hasn't necessarily translated as quickly as I was probably hoping for, that's when this one shows up. And it's like, well, there's no evidence of success, so you're a failure. And like, my brain tends to default to like the worst case scenario, and it's like it does so very quickly. And in my experience with being a failure, or like perceiving myself as a failure, the reason that was sort of coming up for me and I was focusing on being a failure is because I was not thinking about all of the ways that success is measured, and I was thinking about typically monetary value, or being seen by like thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and getting like a lot of social media engagement. And if I am unable to see the numbers translate, which in all honesty, like, it's not happened yet, it's really not happened yet, yeah, like, if I'm not seeing those numbers, then that's where my brain goes. But as of recent months, I have been able to shift my focus so that it's less on other people and it's more on myself. So I would invite you to have a think. You can meditate, you can open a journal, you can go for a walk, and just allow your thoughts to just flow through you. Just observe your thoughts and then think about what success means to you, and also how success has been shown in your life up to this point. So like, what things do you associate with being successful, like conventionally successful? And then also think about it from a place of, okay, this is what everybody else defines success as. How have I been successful in ways that others wouldn't necessarily connect success to it? So like with me, I am now redefining what success means to me, and I am thinking more about my emotions. So when I'm talking about success now, I'm thinking about like, am I having more good days as opposed to like bad days, or days where I don't feel that great? That to me is a measure of success. So like, all of these little things that I'm doing on a daily basis or multiple times a day, they're all adding up so that I end up having more good days and like fewer bad days. But I'm not really villainizing the bad days. Like, these are just days where I need to rest more, or I just need to increase certain aspects of like what it is that I'm doing. And sometimes when I feel like I am a failure, or like that thought is coming up and making me feel really bad, I go and look for evidence that it's not true. And I literally have a folder, and it has my, like, all of my testimonials from clients, and it also has all of my certificates from different things that I've done to grow my skill set, and it does make me really, really happy. And another thing that does help as well is I also have a bunch of messages and like voice notes from people I deeply care about who have said things to me at like different points with certain like coaching spaces or just like friends and family and stuff, where their words have really really touched me, and that tends to make me happy, and it tends to allow me to feel open and like honest about where that thought may have come from. And then I then kind of just say, do you know what, that thought and that belief that I'm actually a failure, that's not true. So for now, I don't have to think about it, or I'm letting it go, because I've just found like so much evidence that I'm not a failure. And then that tends to give me the push that I need to go and complete that project, or just go and share something that I absolutely love to do. And I do so with so much conviction after I've spent that time just working on that idea or that belief that I had previously. And because I'm doing it constantly, I'm able to like lessen the intensity of it. So I would encourage you to find evidence, and if you can't find evidence, feel free to drop me a message on Instagram at Washea Official. It's in the description, and we can talk through it. So there's going to be like no pressure around it. Like, I just want to help you see and know how incredible you are. And yeah, we can kind of go from there. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that one. So I will catch you in the next one, and as always, I hope that today has been gentle for you, and if not, that's okay. I would just encourage and invite you to find something that makes you smile, even if it's just a little bit more than it was yesterday. So I will catch you in the next one.